Benicia, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks so much for,
Gen Z has been dubbed the most depressed generation. Just 45% report their mental health is in good standing.
So you're pretty young, 13? Okay.
Yeah.
KETV invited 9 young people, ages 13 to 19, to 7 Burlington Station for the first ever Teen Summit.
We're going to ask you just your thoughts on current events and
In their high-tech, fast-paced, hyper-connected, yet isolated world, this is what they want you to know. These are the voices of Gen Z.
It's all older people to write our story, to try and tell us what our story looks like.
You're accustomed to privilege, equality starts to feel like oppression.
We are mainly like cattle, forced to breed and all that.
With me being a young man, I think that I have no conversation of what a woman should do with her body.
The thing with the pandemic, it definitely made me a more anxious person.
I go to a Catholic school, and so it's just a uniform. But on dress down days, people make fun of the way, why is their hair like that? Or why are you wearing those kind of pants? They're ugly.
And you start to deteriorate and take yourself down because you're like, I'm not what they want.
Bullying is a big thing, and it can hurt somebody, and it can hurt people to the point where they no longer want to be on the earth.
have any of you ever felt pressure to look a certain way because of what you've seen on social media?
For me, I've actually been bullied most of my life because I've been taller than what girls should be at their age. I've been thicker than what girls should be at their age. And it's something that people, if you don't fit into a size 2, a size 4, you're not what people are looking for, you know, especially with like modeling almost too. You don't see a plus size girl modeling.
You know, I have this image of who I'm supposed to look like in my mind, and I'm upset. I get upset at myself for not looking like that, even though I do all the things I'm supposed to, you know, feeding my body correctly, exercising. And it's difficult trying to, you know, I guess, work myself up to that, to realize that I'm okay looking the way I am.
Just be you, yeah.
People aren't going to hate me.
Have you found your people?
Yeah, I have.
Good.
I try to surround myself with people who, you know, don't care what I look like, and like my personality is fine.
I think how social media has like affected you, among other things, but like, you know, I think one of the biggest issues that I've been talking about for like a week straight is like how eating disorders have become pretty much normalized, and people are posting, you know, health content, well, really just promotion of eating disorders disguised as dieting advice. They're advising people to eat just enough to survive, but like also not enough to be healthy. You know, social media is starting to translate more and more into real life, and, you know, people are starting. I've seen a lot of bullying at my school, and nothing's really being done about it, and people are thinking it's okay because, well, social media.
Braylon, what format? Is it Instagram? Is it TikTok? Where are you seeing all this?
It's everywhere. If you even dare to step outside a social norm, you're going to get bullied and shamed for it and harassed for it. And it's just not good, and it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse.
I think men also take a lot of toll from bullying too. I think a big part is men's mental health is never really talked about in a big sense. And I think, you know, there's always this big stigma and patriarchy about how men have to be, you know, stone cold, don't show any emotions and stuff like that. But I believe that, you know, I'd rather have my best friend cry on my shoulder, you know, than him being alone or him being dead, something like that, you know. And I think any man should reach out for help and stuff like that, because especially when you're in school and all your friends are doing X, Y, and Z and you're doing something else, it always makes you feel like you're different in a sense and that you're not with them or you feel alone and stuff like that. So it's just it's a lonely, you know, kind of sense, but you can't reach out because you're a man. You're supposed to bottle it up.
I go to a Catholic school, and so it's just a uniform. But on dress down days, like, people make fun of the way, like, why is their hair like that? Or like, why are you wearing those kind of pants? Like, they're ugly.
Dallas, have you dealt with bullying yourself?
I've dealt with it, but I've learned to, like, not worry about it and just like silence them out and not just worry on myself and not about how others think about me, and just to be myself around others.
So we're the same age, and I assume we're both in middle school, and I do think bullying is a big issue, and there's nothing really being done about it. I mean, one of my friends literally got bullied out of school because people were threatening their life, and it was an awful situation, and literally nothing was done about it. You know, I've listened to people yelling slurs across the room, and it's in earshot of the teachers, and there is nothing being done about it. And there's lots of other things, like mostly boys just openly admitting that they've sexually harassed girls and talking about girls' bodies in a very disgusting way. And it's like there's nothing being done to address that gross behavior, and it's setting a really bad example for everyone, because a lot of these people are like, well, I can get away with this.
It's hard to speak up in that situation because you may become their target, right?
Yeah. I dealt with that at the same age, and what I remember the most is what you just said about this being in an earshot of the teacher. And you know, I think I know as a kid, one of the worst feelings is you're looking to the adult that's supposed to basically save you. That's their job, right? And they're not. So it's like, where else do you go, right?
So I was bullied actually from like elementary up until middle school, part of high school. But I have actually tried to commit suicide once when I was 11, and I've been in and out of hospitals for that reason since 11, and I was admitted into Boys Town, their living program, when I was 14. It's who I am, and I'm not ashamed of who I am. And I don't think anyone should be, because that's your story, that's your path, that's why you are in the stars.
What kind of slurs are you hearing? Racial slurs?
Like homophobic slurs, transphobic slurs, ableist slurs, and it's like there's nothing being done.
In the hallway, right? They call each other.
In the classroom, too.
At my school, a lot of people are very open about their disdain for the LGBTQ community and the LGBTQ students at our school. My friend groups are very open-minded about stuff like that. You know, we're very accepting and very supporting of our trans and queer friends. And it is really heartbreaking to know that they have to go through that constantly.
Some people said, slap on the wrist, you know, don't say that. I'll talk to them, and they never talk about it, and it happens again and again, and it kind of breaks you down and go, why aren't people doing something about this?
Friends have been pushed to that point where you're basically pleading with them, you have so much more to live for, just, you know, stay on this earth. People are going to hate you, but you're going to find that group of people who do love you for who you are and will accept you. And sometimes it's hard, especially in like a red state like Nebraska or anywhere else where these bans are being pushed, where there's so much more homophobia, more transphobia in this world.
Bullying is a big thing, and it can hurt somebody, and it can hurt people to the point where they no longer want to be on the earth.
Coming up, the teens talk racism.
Especially being in Nebraska and being a POC, that's not the easiest either.
So I'm not black, but I am Asian, and growing up, I would get a lot of these jokes where it kind of like killed me inside.
The pandemic.
Double masking. I wouldn't really want to go outside because like I don't want to get sick. People are dying from this. Kids my age, grandparents, adults, everybody's dying from this.
And the right to choose.
I think that it's important to like talk about it growing up like in a Christian household.
Abortion made me so nervous to talk about.